today's webinar. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to give you all a minute or two to join in. This is CalFresh, good for students, good for schools. So we'll give our folks a minute to join. In the meantime, we would love if you'd introduce yourself in the chat. If you would please say your name, the organization you're with, and your title. That would be fabulous. So please introduce yourself to the chat if you're just joining us. And welcome to today's webinar. Nice to see you, Sally. Sally, always really quick on the draw in the chat. It's great to see you all. We appreciate everyone joining and taking the time today. How wonderful. We're seeing so many friendly names. Okay, it is 1:02. We are officially going to get started. So welcome to today's webinar, Good for Students, Good for Schools, How CalFresh Promotion Will Move Districts Forward. My name is Amanda Mesha, and I'm with the San Diego Hunger Coalition. And I want to honor how busy you all are in this time and in this place and during this pandemic. And thank you for taking an hour and a half out of your time to dedicate to learning how more successfully, easily, and more broadly feed children in the San Diego County. We are so grateful for your time. We want to acknowledge that Zoom fatigue is a real thing here. So whatever you need to do to stay connected to us throughout this presentation is warmly encouraged. My mother would make me do jumping jacks every now and then when I got a little sleepy during long trips or homework. So do a couple jumping jacks, get ready to pay close attention. Because we have a really great presentation today and panelists who've been working hard to share their expertise with you. Next slide, please, Ashley. So looking at the presenting organizations, we have a lot of really great folks who have decided to share their time and expertise with you today. We want to especially thank No Kid Hungry for collaborating with us on this webinar and for always lending your voice and your star power to feeding more children in San Diego County, but also to the County of San Diego Health and Human Services, to Chula Vista Community Collaborative, Feeding San Diego, Vista Unified, San Diego Unified, Borrego Springs Unified, No Kid Hungry, and of course, the San Diego Hunger Coalition. It truly takes all of us to feed our children. The next slide is going to show you our presenters. I'm not going to go through all their names now. We will introduce them when it is their individual time to speak. But these are the lovely folks who've been preparing for well over a month for this presentation. So let us move on to the next one, please, and thank you. And here's our agenda. So the welcome, you're in the middle of that right now. The second section is about ending childhood hunger. And so the strategies and the unique point in time that we're in right now for ending childhood hunger. Next up, we're going to talk about why CalFresh outreach is important, not only for students, but for school nutrition programs and also for school funding and services. Getting started. So how do you get started with CalFresh outreach? Then actually how to apply some really cool additional strategies to increase CalFresh enrollment, and then we'll do a summary and a quick Q&A. You are in questions in the Q&A portion at the bottom. Now we are going to hear from Cipriano Vargas, President of the School Board.
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you able to hear me? Perfect. Well, it's an honor to be here with you all today and talking about this very important issue. My name is Cipriano Vargas, President of the Vista School Board. And so we know that school and school nutrition serve as a foundation for our community and for those we serve in the school district. In addition, it allows us and ensures that every children has access to reach their potential. Because when we look at the data, we know that students that are well fed are more likely to learn, are more likely to be engaged. And then at the same time, we know that the challenges that this pandemic has happened, been seen across all districts, not just the rural, not just the suburban, but everything in between. And so when we talk about, what we can do to amplify the services, what we can do to make sure that we are reaching those that need, that we're reaching pockets of family that in the past, food insecurity was never on their mind. And with that, this food insecurity issue existed even before this pandemic. And so what are the lessons learned? What are the opportunities and what we can do to collaborate? Because collectively, working with nonprofits, working with public agencies, making sure that those that are eligible to apply to CalFresh are doing so. And so whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a school district staff member, how do we build those relationships? How do we make sure that we have the information in people's home language? Because we know that San Diego and the state of California is very diverse. And so how do we use the best practices from other districts to reach those pockets? In addition, we have a unique opportunity in moving forward. What were the lessons learned during this pandemic that we can share? One of the things that talking to our child nutrition service providers in Vista Unified is using our parent liaisons who have already built relationships with our parents, who know where are the pockets of need, and making sure that we reach them. And whether that be through CalFresh, whether that be through other service providers or nonprofits that are trying to meet this gap, I think collectively that's the work that it lays in front of us. But you'll be hearing from a phenomenal group of individuals this afternoon. Take plenty of notes, because once again, when we impact one school district, one child, one community, collectively, we impact the entire state and the entire nation. Thank you all.
Can I get an amen for Mr. Vargas? Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate your voice and all you do for the Vista community. Okay, next up, we're going to hear from Robin Hernandez from No Kid Hungry, and her topic is ending childhood hunger.
Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you all for allowing me to join you today. I just want to take a quick moment just to introduce you to our organization if you're not already familiar with No Kid Hungry. The No Kid Hungry campaign is a part of Share Our Strength organization, and basically, hunger affects children in every community in the United States, but No Kid Hungry and Share Our Strength, we believe it's a solvable problem, and that effective programs exist to close the gap between kids who have enough to eat and those who don't. Too often, however, these programs are not reaching the kids who need them, and No Kid Hungry strategy focuses on problem solving, working with local partners to identify and eliminate barriers for kids. And we do this through helping further programs such as school meals or CalFresh, providing grants and advocacy and support. Next slide, please. So for those that may not be familiar with CalFresh, I just want to give a quick explanation. CalFresh in California is also the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP as it's known federally. And it is the largest nutrition assistance program in the United States. This program helps low-income families and individuals purchase nutritious, healthy food. SNAP is the nation's first line of defense against hunger and is the cornerstone of all federal nutrition assistance programs. Participants who are on CalFresh are able to receive funds to purchase groceries like fresh fruits, vegetables, milk, meat, and more. And it can really make a difference in a household budget for families who may have to choose between buying groceries and paying bills. Next slide, please. CalFresh is great for families because it feeds children. 35% of the participants in San Diego CalFresh are children. It helps elderly family members stay independent. It helps support local communities by supporting local food establishments like grocery stores, restaurants, and local farmers markets. It also helps generate economic activity, with every $5 of CalFresh benefits spent generating $9.20 in total community spending. Next slide. So why CalFresh now? Why are we having this conversation with you now? It's important to know that CalFresh, it not only helps so many families in need, but we also need to realize that schools are some of the best ways to get messages out to families and out to parents. So there's also compounding benefits for schools when their families of their children are able to apply for CalFresh. When families get enrolled for benefits at a school district, it benefits the schools in return. So when you have more children who are able to get onto the CalFresh program, the school's direct certification percentage increases. So when the direct certification percentage increases, this can actually help a school by benefiting their LCFF funding through supplemental and concentration grants for high need students, as an example. It can also allow a nutrition program to apply for the community eligibility provision, which is a program that increases access for children, it furthers the access for school meals for children in schools. And Universal Meals is coming to California next year, which is actually making it the perfect timing to implement these programs and increase the ISPs in your school. Next slide. So I want to take a moment to give you guys a little bit of background on the Universal Meals program and why this is such a timely issue right now, and a little bit about how it's going to work in case you don't already know. So with the passage of AB 130, California became the first state in the nation requiring public school districts, county offices of education, charter schools serving students in grade K through 12 to provide free breakfast and lunch to all students, regardless of their free and reduced price meal eligibility. So this is a huge deal, and it's an incredible step forward in fighting childhood hunger and achieving equity for kids. So to sustain this program, it's critical that districts draw down as many federal dollars as possible so that the state can supplement the difference. So the CDE has actually announced that all schools meeting the minimum federal threshold, which is currently 40% of their ISP, that they must apply for a federal provision such as CEP or Provision 2 by June 30th of this year. Next slide. So what is CEP, or community eligibility provision? So community eligibility provision, it actually allows school food service authorities to qualify all children at a given school site for free meals without the use of school meal applications. Schools that are not on CEP must still collect meal applications and claim their meals served based on the free, reduced, and paid status, even though all students will receive meals for free next year. So let me say that one more time. Schools that are on CEP next year under Universal Meals will not have to complete traditional meal applications to qualify their students. Schools that are not CEP will still need to continue collecting meal applications. So when they make their claims, they're going to receive, non-CEP schools will receive the corresponding federal reimbursement dollars for free and reduced meals, and the state will make up the difference for the paid meals. Those on CEP, the school's ISP is combined with a multiplier, which is 1.6, to receive a new percentage. And this percentage is going to be the meals that will be reimbursed at the free rate. And in most cases, this actually means more federal dollars coming in as a reimbursement for the program, which means a more sustainable universal meals program for the state of California in the long haul. There's also numerous benefits for CEP for children and for the nutrition departments, which are going to be discussed later in the presentation. So I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I just want to introduce you to the idea. Next slide. I want to talk to you now briefly just about the CalFresh enrollment gap. Most of you on the call that are involved in schools already may be familiar with the free reduced price meal program, which can be a significant help for families. But there's more that we can do to help these children when they are not in school by getting them connected to the CalFresh program. It ensures that they have access to nutrition at home, further setting them up for success when they arrive at school. CalFresh enrollment is actually on the rise in San Diego County, almost by 10% from last year. And then also Medi-Cal is also up by 12.2% in San Diego County from last year. Next slide. And then I want to bring your attention to the income and eligibility of these three popular programs. So for a family of 4 to qualify for CalFresh, the max income threshold is $34,000. And for Medi-Cal, it's $36,156. And for the free and reduced price meal program, it's $34,060. So pretty close, pretty similar. Next slide. But there's actually quite a big gap when it comes to the number of children that are actually enrolled in these programs, even though the qualifications are very similar. So in San Diego County, there's currently 123,589 students or children enrolled in CalFresh. In Medi-Cal, contrasted with that, it's 321,471 children that are enrolled. And again, the free and reduced meal program, it's got 226,000 children enrolled. So with similar qualifications, there's definitely a gap there that we can help support to fill. And when there's a large gap that exists between those that qualify for these kinds of programs and those that actually apply, it's really helpful to help kind of close that gap so that more families in a school district, more children in a school district, their ISP, their identified student percentage is going to be a better reflection of the need of that school district. And with that, I'm going to actually pass it back over to Amanda. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin. Oh, you always do such a great job of explaining really in such an easy way. So thank you very much. All right, so we're talking about CalFresh and the importance CalFresh has on students, as well as nutrition programs and school funding and services. So CalFresh is really one of these unique programs that once a family is enrolled, it amplifies, I'm going to use the word food chain, it amplifies through the food chain. So we have three presenters here. We have Chula Vista Community Collaborative, Borrego Springs Unified, and San Diego Unified that are going to split this presentation. First up, we're going to be hearing from David Carzia from Chula Vista Community Collaborative. He is their Family Resource Center Program Manager. David, thank you for being here, and we can't wait to hear what you have to share.
Hi there. Thank you, Amanda. Is this okay? Y'all can hear me? Great. I do want to just echo all the things that have been just spoken of. Here in the South Bay, the Chula Vista Community Collaborative started a partnership with Chula Vista Elementary School District as well as Sweetwater High School District back in the 90s. And our collaborative efforts were aimed to bring all sectors of the local community to develop coordinated strategies to improve health, safety, and wellness for all of our residents. And here you can see our website. We do invite you to visit. And we want to make sure that we focus a little bit on the CalFresh side and how it's integrated into our partnership with the school districts. Can I get the next slide, please? We do have 5 family resource centers in Chula Vista, and that is at the elementary schools as well as the high school. And we're really hyper-focused on working with a population that is eligible for CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and those public programs that are very much needed here in the South Bay community. And our FRCs essentially is a gateway to those services. Now, we do everything that has been spoken of. We've been piloting those strategies and those efforts in our FRCs, and we have seen what we like to say is a support for those families where they are food secure, that no children are being hungry. And part of our history dates back to some of our early efforts here in Chula Vista back in the 1900s with the Chula Vista Welfare Council, where they started to see that school meals were not being offered during breaks and things like that, and supplying those efforts to continue school meals and not have hungry families here in the South Bay. But here you can see just our quick overview process of how integrated we are with the schools. We do have an open door policy, whereas anybody in the community can visit one of our FRCs and learn if they do qualify for various public programs. Alongside that, we do have a specific referral program with the schools where any staff or referring party from the schools, that could be teachers, administrators, Anybody who is aware of our process can refer a student to our FRCs, and they do receive comprehensive services. And that's, screening for Medi-Cal, for example, and ensuring that the student and the family is able to have affordable healthcare, that they do have access to fresh food. We do provide an emergency food program alongside our CalFresh program. And this is all in a partnership with the schools, because we believe that if educators can focus on educating, that will help the situation in the schools. If administrators are doing their administration, we want them to do their job. And if there is an issue or something happening with those students and families, we want them to communicate with us. We want them to send them to us, and we become their advocates through the navigation of the public programs, including CalFresh. So that's the essence of the Chula Vista Community Collaborative. We've been here in the South Bay for about 25 years. I believe around 10 years doing this research alongside Hunger Coalition. And we do want to thank everybody for having us here today. And we really welcome you to visit our website, look at our resources and some of the methods that we use. I did include a narrative just so you could view more specifically how our process works. And this really comes from our partnership with the schools, where we do outreach, we do awareness, we make sure that staff know that there is a support system for the families. In this specific example, a CVSD family was referred due to a student expressing stress in the classroom, anxiety. And during that communication with the family, we tend to find more information as they get more comfortable. So in this case, it was because of a difference between age and the parent. One of the parents had been deported. So all of this stress, affects the family unit. And another thing that we do see often is those single parent families where the income is not enough, and they're hitting those thresholds of low income and not. So we do want to just give you a little preview of how comprehensive our services are, and they do include that CalFresh component, because we believe that CalFresh is one of the ways where is one of the supports that the family is really essential for the household and for students' development as well. And we do advocate for all of our families to know if they qualify or not. It's always their option. And we do partner with different places like Feeding San Diego when they have the big food banks or SPCS. So we're very in tune with a lot of our partners and how to leverage those partnerships to expand access to food and bring more funding into our communities. We really do advocate for more resources into the community, and this has been one of the ways we bring together a lot of resources and bring more stability to our families here in the South Bay.
David, thank you so much. Thank you. You provided a really meaningful and gold standard example of what it can look like when we can deeply embed services like CalFresh into student services. So thank you very much for being here and your expertise. Kathy Paredes from Borrego Springs Unified is next. She's their nutrition service director, and she's going to talk about why CalFresh outreach is important for school nutrition.
Hi, thanks for having me. I first want to start off with just thanking No Kid Hungry and the San Diego Hunger Coalition and all the other agencies that have supported child nutrition these last few years and these last few decades, particularly during the pandemic. It's been incredibly challenging, and to have these organizations as a resource has just been a blessing. So thank you so much. I am here to talk about CEP enrollment and the benefits of CEP and CalFresh and how they go together. Our district enrolled in CEP for the 2018-19 school year. Prior to that, we'd been Provision 2 for 2 cycles, so about 8 years. We went ahead and made the decision to switch to CEP. It's just a little more streamlined. It's a little less complicated once you kind of get a hang of all the different avenues to take to collect the information. So we started by getting our directly certified population information from CalPADS. And for our district, the 2 main categories are Medi-Cal and CalFresh. We have the occasional foster student, we have the occasional homeless student, but most likely they're going to be either CalFresh or Medi-Cal. When retrieving that information, it's really, really important to make sure that you're making the sibling connections. It's just not always accounted for in CalPADS. It's a mystery to me why, but that's the reality. So using the student information system, it's pretty easy, especially in a small district like ours, to go in there and just double check on other members in the household and make sure that we're accounting for all of them when we're calculating the individual student percentages, which of course is what we use to determine the reimbursement rate for the free meals that we're going to get through the CEP program. And for those of you that don't know, and I'm guessing most of you do, all the information is there in CNIPS with the download forms. You'll just go in there and find everything you need to start this process if you haven't done it already. And the other really important thing to know is that you really want to check your CalPADS information monthly to see if any other students have been added onto the list. And then you're gonna, in addition to using the information from CalPADS, it's still important, if you go to the next slide, it's still important to go ahead and distribute a household income information form. That's where, at least from my point of view, we can identify those families that maybe aren't participating in some benefit programs that they're eligible for, because we're going to get that income information. And if they're not on the DC list, then we're going to go ahead and qualify them based on income. And if we can qualify them based on income as a free or reduced meal, then most likely they can qualify for CalFresh or Medi-Cal benefits too. So that's where we can go ahead and pass that information along to our district liaison. And then she will go ahead and reach out to those families and see if maybe they're interested. You know, sometimes they're not, but maybe they're just not aware. Maybe they're hesitant. Maybe they have some other concerns that could help be alleviated just by a conversation with the district liaison. As mentioned before, it goes hand in hand, CalFresh and CEP. One benefits the others. It's just the higher the number of directly certified students, the higher your reimbursement is going to be, because the higher your identified student percentage is going to be. And CalFresh is just such a beneficial program, especially in a community like ours. We find that we have a lot of families in challenging situations. So we can go to the next slide and talk about the benefits of CEP enrollment. And as you can see on the slide, the district benefits, because it no longer, the income information is only collected every 4 years. So there's a lot less paper use and waste, which that's another thing that I'm very passionate about, is the environment. So the less we can do to damage the environment, the better. The base year income information can be used for the LCFF, and income information collected only on newly enrolled students during the 4-year cycle. So for us, that's typically our kinders when they start the next school year, and we have the kinders enrolling. And then the occasional newly enrolled student that lands here in Borrego. And one of the best benefits, I think, for the district, because as you know, once you're in a provision program, we don't have to worry about collecting on student accounts anymore, and neither does the district. So that's something we haven't had to worry about for almost 16 years now. And I remember those days, and I'm so glad we're not having to worry about that anymore. The students benefit because the meal lines move faster. We don't have to identify anybody's eligibility. There's no cost for meals, which means there's no need for money, and that means there's less money lost. And what I mean by that is there's been more than one time where we've seen a little one in tears because they lost their $10 that they were supposed to be bringing to school to pay for something. So if they know that if the parents know that there's no need to send money with their students for their meals, then that's going to be something that's not going to be happening as often. They'll still bring money for other reasons, but at least they're not going to lose it paying for their lunch. And then we can provide an increased variety of foods, so the student benefits for that as well. For the food service, we benefit with less paperwork, which is, as you know, we can be drowned in paperwork. So it's great to not have to deal with some of that extra paperwork that you would have to be dealing with if you weren't in a provision program. The verification report is just, I mean, it's over in 5 minutes. It's just so easy to go ahead and go through verification. And it's just the report, you know, you don't have to actually conduct verification. And then that leaves us with more time for meal prep and trying new recipes, which has really been a pleasure these last few years to actually be trying out some new recipes and introducing that to our students. And what I have found that it's about a 3 menu option time before you really start to see whether or not that recipe is a hit. And when it is a hit, we all feel so much better about something we've just introduced to our students. So on the next slide, this is just a little bit about our community. For those of you who have not been out to the desert in San Diego County, we are surrounded by the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. You can see the lighter area on the map there, that's the park, and then the darker area in the middle, that's Borrego Springs. We are very remote. We're 60 miles from any town with services or a freeway. Our town size population grows from 3,000 to 6,000 when the temperatures are under 100 degrees. And then it goes right back down to 3,000 when the temperatures go up over that. And our school district, right now we have a population of 378. That's a little low. We've been hovering around 400 until these last couple of years. We have TK through 12th grade, and then we also have a preschool on site. So we have 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school. And our free and reduced number seems to hover around 88%. That's pretty consistent with our population. And the challenges of living here in a beautiful remote community are prices, prices, prices. So as you can see, our gas prices are at least $1 higher than anywhere else in San Diego County. And we have 2 grocery stores, and they do their best to keep prices reasonable. And with the cost of gas, it's imperative for our families to have the means to actually utilize our 2 grocery stores in town. So CalFresh does a lot to assist with our families to buy their grocery stores locally. And we do have food distribution programs that help out as well with our families. Another thing that we have to take into consideration with this location is that when the temperatures go up, our electric bills go way up. So for families to not have to worry about paying their grocery bill or paying their electric bill is just an incredible value for our families and for our community. So CalFresh, again, is just so vitally important. I did want to go back. I forgot to kind of focus on our Family Resource Center. Our Family Resource Center is fairly new. It's only been up and running for about the past 2 years. It actually opened during the first year of the pandemic. And our district liaison was instrumental in opening this Family Resource Center. And it does a lot to provide resources for our community members and our students. And she's very proactive in getting our students into that volunteer mindset. So she recruits a lot of our students to come in and help with the food distributions. And then you can see that I've included a few forms just as a matter of just to see how simple these forms can be. The household income form is just so much more simple than an actual meals benefit form. Families
Thank you,
seem
Kathy.
much more willing to fill these out than they would be to, they're a little more hesitant with the meal benefits form. So,
And we're going to be putting those in the chat too, Kathy. We'll put
Okay.
links, and we'll put them in the notes.
awesome.
So everybody has them.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
We appreciate your voice, and thank you for feeding those kiddos such good food and
Yeah.
just always being such an advocate. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
All right, next up, we are going to be talking about CalFresh and how it helps school funding and services. We are pleased to introduce Mr. Ron Rode. He's the Director of Research and Evaluation at San Diego Unified School District.
Well, thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit this afternoon about how CalFresh supports funding for our district, and then certainly going to our schools. So some other people have already touched on it a bit, but I thought I'd start by just emphasizing the local control funding formula, and probably many people on this webinar today are familiar with this. But it's a needs-based or equity-based funding model that tries to provide more funds for the students who have higher needs. And so every district gets a base grant, which is intended to provide the services to kind of keep schools open. So the teaching staff, the utilities costs, all those things that every school is going to need. But then there's also a supplemental grant for every student who's called an unduplicated pupil. And for LCFF purposes, those are low income English learner and foster youth. And for supplemental grants, you get a bump of 20% of the base amount for the students. And there are some grade level differences. K3 gets a bump because of the class size reduction down to 24 students per class. And then high schools also get a bump based on some higher costs of providing the courses that they're taking. So that's a good reason why you want to increase your count of low-income students, and certainly CalFresh is a contributor to that count of students. And there's also a concentration grant where you can get 50% of the base allocation for your unduplicated pupils over 55%. So for a district like San Diego Unified, we started out in the low 60s, mid 60% range when LCFF first started, and we have drifted down a little bit. So, we're always conscious of, are we going to hit that 55% threshold? So even though all kids can eat free, we still are required to collect student level data for LCFF. So on the surface, it might seem, well, I can count a student based on him or her being an English learner, but that is true for LCFF, but it does not apply to other allocations, for example, the way we implement Title I in our district. And the student count is based on those who are enrolled as of Census Day. That's the first Wednesday in October. But we can determine meal eligibility for those students all the way through October. And we use the direct certification counts that we get from the County of San Diego starting in July. And actually the October report is received in early November. And then it's important to understand that districts can decide how those supplemental and concentration funds are allocated. So they come to the district, and then the district can choose to implement, district-wide programs. They could allocate the funding to schools for discretionary use there. But again, the funds must be for the principal benefit of the students who are earning the funds, and that's those unduplicated pupils. Okay, we can go on. So some others have already talked a little bit about how CalFresh supports schools. And so certainly a big benefit not needing to request information from families. So any family that we can quote eliminate from our data collection because they've been direct certified is a big help to our schools. We provide a report to our schools during our data collection process that identifies only the kids that from whom we need information. So if they've been direct certified, if they are homeless, if they are foster youth, or if they are, as was earlier mentioned, family members with another student, if they're a sibling, we let schools know that you don't have to track information for those particular students. So certainly that's a big help. And so that's that reduction in administrative burden for those students. And we all know that we are in a very diverse community, and sometimes it's a struggle finding support to communicate with certain families based on they're sometimes being refugees new to the country or just certain languages. And if they've already been certified through CalFresh or other processes, then again, we don't have to, for this particular purpose, worry about providing forms in that particular language or providing other supports of communication. The other thing is that, CalFresh is a very direct benefit to families. They can understand that it's funding to support the nutrition for their families. However, LCFF is a little bit more indirect. There's no personal benefit that I can see I'm going to get, extra funding coming directly to my family. However, it's still very, very important to the school because, again, based on the decisions that a district and the school makes, it could be very personal improvement in services or support staff at your school. So you could be providing extra counselors, you could be providing tutoring services, could be having more time for a nurse at your school. There's all kinds of things that can be beneficial the more families that are identified through this process. Next slide, please. So again, it's important for students. Oh, this isn't my final slide.
I apologize, Ron.
I can just speak,
Okay.
I can just speak to it. So
Thank you.
we also want to make sure that there's 55, again, this 55% threshold, because then we get additional funding through LCFF concentration, and that is a huge bump in funding. As I mentioned earlier, it's that 50% of the base. So for schools where there's higher concentrations of poverty, and we know that's the research really supports that those situations where there's more poverty and the higher it gets is the more challenges there are. So families need more services. And so that's why it's important that if you are at that 55% threshold, you're going to get that extra funding. In San Diego Unified, we also do something called we duplicate the unduplicated. So when we're allocating funds to schools for their discretionary use, we look at those students who are low income, whether they've been direct certified or this family has filled out an alternate income form or for whatever reason. So we give a certain amount of funding for all those students. We give an additional allocation for English learners. If the students are homeless or foster, they can get an additional allocation. So again, our belief is that there are compounding supports that need to be provided, and that a single funding amount certainly helps, but we are assigned funding a little bit differently. And the other part that is really beneficial in our district is how this interacts with Title I funding. So most districts use free and reduced price meal eligibility to rank schools. And again, that's based on income, whether it's coming through direct certification, meal applications, alternate income forms. But if your percentage of students who are free and reduced price meal eligible drops, that can directly impact the eligibility at your school, the ranking, and therefore the amount of funding you're going to get and the supports and services you can offer. We know that during the pandemic, there's been a lot of challenges collecting information, and we've seen a few schools who have dropped, and they might have, $20, $30, even, $40,000 in reduced funding in 1 year compared to the prior year. We certainly, try to provide a means that stays pretty level from year to year, but it can drop. And that could mean that half of a counselor is no longer available if the school chose to provide that service to families. Or it could mean that there's a tutoring program they're no longer able to offer, or any other discretionary services or supports that they're providing with those funds may no longer be available. So that's why it's really important that we are able to leverage the information that comes through direct certification so that we are reducing our burden and providing the maximum amount of money and supports to the schools that we serve. And I am done.
Thank you for knowing your subject matter so great that even when we accidentally eliminate one of your slides, you can just seamlessly present. When we send out the presentation to everyone. But to quickly recap, CalFresh is the multiplier here. CalFresh is not only, it's a multiplier and an amplifier. It makes a big difference in the life of the student. Nutrition and the budget and the streamlined offering, and it makes a difference at schools and school budgets and resources. So to focus on one little tiny part that can amplify out through our community. So let us move on to our next section, please. All right, next up, we have Getting Started with CalFresh. We are pleased to introduce Claudia Garola, Human Service Program Manager, Self-Sufficiency Services, CalFresh Program at the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Amanda. I see that your connection's getting a little bit patchy. I hope I don't experience the same problems, but let's get going on this. As Amanda just shared, my name is Claudia Urrola, and I am the CalFresh Program Manager with the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency. Next slide, please. Today, I'm going to be going over briefly what CalFresh is, which was already kind of previously covered by Robin, but I'll try to include a little bit more. I'll also go over what our eligible customers can actually purchase with CalFresh benefits. I'll go over some eligibility factors and the amount of benefits that our customers can actually receive through CalFresh, as well as how to apply for benefits. And we will include some additional information that is actually making it a lot easier for our customers to apply. Next slide. So as Robin shared, CalFresh is a federal supplement nutrition program. At the federal level, actually, we jumped to the wrong slide, but I'll just go over what I'm going over right now. At the federal level, CalFresh is known as the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP. Here in California, we refer to it as CalFresh. The purpose of CalFresh is to improve the health and well-being of qualified households and to promote healthy and proper nutrition for all customers. Something that we do want to mention is that CalFresh is not considered a public charge. There has been a big fear for people not wanting to apply for CalFresh benefits because they're afraid that this will impact their applications for citizenship in the United States. But we really want to make sure that the information is out there that CalFresh is not considered as a public charge. The information is linked here where you, if anybody has any type of question or wants to learn more about public charge, they can actually go and visit the website and obtain more details on that. Next slide, please. So what can customers purchase when they're eligible to CalFresh? They can purchase things such as bread, cereals, fruits, meat, fish, poultry. There's a long list of items that they can benefit from and they can purchase. And that even includes seeds and plants, which produce food for the household, which is beneficial for some individuals who really like to grow their own food. In addition to that, CalFresh actually allows for the purchases of hot meals and prepared meals, but only for certain households. And these households would be individuals who are elderly, disabled, or households that are experiencing homelessness at the time. These individuals would be able to take advantage of purchasing hot and prepared meals with their CalFresh benefits. Next slide, please. The CalFresh benefit amount is determined based on how many people are actually living in the household and purchase and prepare their meals together. In addition to that, we would consider the household's income. And we would take into account certain living expenses, which would then be deducted from their income to see if they fall within the income limits to qualify for CalFresh. Next slide, please. To be eligible to CalFresh in the County of San Diego, we would have to verify some things such as the individual or the family would have to be a county resident. They would have to show us some form of ID, but I do want to emphasize the fact that when it comes to ID, the rules are very flexible. So it doesn't have to be like a valid ID or EDD or DMV issued ID. We can even be as lenient as allowing for somebody who knows the customer to just confirm that they are who they state they are, and that would be an acceptable form of identifying the customer. When it comes to Social Security requirements to be eligible, if for any reason the person applying does not have a Social Security number, we do allow them some time to apply for it and get us that Social Security number if it's not yet available. They do not have to present an actual card to apply for benefits. They could just provide us with the number themselves. Another eligibility requirement would be that they would have to have some form of citizenship, meaning that they're either U.S. citizen, legal permanent residents, or any of the other qualifying non-citizen statuses that we have, and there is a large list of those. The household would also have to be income eligible, and the income limits are actually displayed there in the screen. As you could see, for a household of two, the income limit is $2,904, and it continues increasing depending on the household size. When it comes to income and eligibility, I will share that this does impact some of our active military applicants, because when they receive their housing stipends, sometimes they will be over the allowable income limits, and then they would be determined ineligible for CalFresh, unfortunately. But they can always apply, and we can make that evaluation and, see if they fall within those limits. Additionally, I want to share that college students, they may be eligible for CalFresh benefits, but there are a little bit extra eligibility requirements that they would have to meet and in order to qualify for the benefits. We refer to them as exemptions, and pretty much it's a long list of items that could qualify them for the program. And it's pretty much encouraging these individuals to be participating in a program that is going to help them become gainfully employed. Next slide, please. So here we have the benefit amounts and some real positive things that happened this year. This federal fiscal year was a huge increase that occurred for our benefit amounts that we issued to our customers that are determined eligible for CalFresh. As you could see, the smaller picture shows what the income limits were in October of 2020. And then the larger picture shows you what the benefits are now. As you could see, for a household of one, the benefits that they would receive could be up to $204, and that increased in October of 2021 to $250. That has been the largest increase that we have seen in quite some time. It was a 21% increase to benefits, and we were all very happy to see that increase. And you could see that the amount of benefits that a household can receive changes depending on the household size, and it just keeps growing and growing from there. Next slide, please. So when individuals or households are determined eligible for benefits, they receive the CalFresh benefits through what we call an electronic benefit transfer card, also known as EBT. Now, I do have to share with you guys that these cards are used for other programs, not just CalFresh. They're also used for CalWorks and WIC. So when customers go and make purchases at a store, they will have to indicate on the machine whether they're using food benefits, cash benefits, or WIC. Any benefits that go unused from the previous month will roll over into the next month, and that will continue for up to a year. But if the benefits go unused for in excess of 12 months, then the state will permanently remove those unused benefits from the account. The EBT cards for CalFresh benefits can also now be used online at places such as Albertsons, Amazon, Safeway, Vons, and Walmart. So our customers can actually make purchases online with their EBT card and use their CalFresh benefits to purchase any allowable food items. Next slide, please. So how to apply for CalFresh benefits? Our customers can apply. There's many, many ways of applying, but this is just to mention a huge chunk of them. That includes the getcalfresh.org. They can go through my BCW, which is mybenefitscalwin.org. They can also call 211, or they can call our call center, which we have named Access. They can also go into our CalFresh website where they can obtain a hard copy application and fax it in to us, or stop by one of our family resource centers. This is an HHSA, San Diego County Family Resource Center. I've heard that many other businesses are using the Family Resource Center term, but I would just want to be very specific that the customers can actually come into a County of San Diego HHSA Family Resource Center to submit an application in person. During this pandemic period, also I want to share that, to protect everybody, we are now offering our services in an outdoor lobby setting. So customers will not be turned away. They can come in and get the same information and the same documents and submit applications just as they would when they would be able to come indoors to our lobbies. Next slide, please. So this is the additional information that I did want to share, which is a huge positive for our customers. Our customers right now are not required to complete an interview when they apply for CalFresh, and that it makes a significant difference when they're applying, because they're not inconvenienced with having to complete an interview that can take from 45 minutes to an hour. Plus, it would have to, it impacts their schedules too, because many of our customers do work. So right now is the time to apply, since we don't have that requirement to actually be interviewed. Additionally, we can also accept telephonic signatures, meaning that we don't have to get a wet signature on a document. If the customer failed to complete a document, we could simply get their statement over the phone that they are, validating the information that's being collected, and we will accept a telephonic signature from the customer. Additionally, right now, we went over the benefit amounts that customers can obtain during this pandemic period. All customers are actually being bumped up to the max allotment every month. And households that are already entitled to the max benefit amount can also receive an additional $95. So pretty much all households are going to receive a minimum of $95 increase to whatever they're eligible to, or even it may be larger than that if they're not receiving the max allotment amount, which is the max benefit amount. I keep using the word allotment because that's what we call it, but it's the benefit amount. So it's definitely the right time to apply for benefits, as they're getting a lot more money right now. They may receive a lot more money right now. Also, I mentioned here Direct Cert, which Kathy did a fantastic job talking about the benefits of Direct Cert. And I just want to promote it again. If any of the schools are interested in taking advantage of the Direct Cert process that Kathy described, they can always reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to guide them through the process and make sure that we establish a memorandum of agreement with the county and the schools so that we can start that process for them. Next slide, please. Oh, so that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. Really feel supported. Thank you for all that fantastic information. We're going to absolutely share it in the follow-up slides with links, and there's some of it going out in the chat now. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how to apply for CalFresh. You're going to hear from the Hunger Coalition and San Diego. First up is Devin Ton.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Devin Ton, and I am the CalFresh Program Coordinator from the San Diego Hunger Coalition. And I'm going to be talking about the ways that we best recommend students and their families to apply for the CalFresh program. There are really two main ways. If you go on the next slide, that we recommend. One, families can apply on their own online at getcalfresh.org. The application takes about 15 minutes, give or take, to be completed. For any family that wants a little bit more support in the application process, they can also contact a CalFresh application assister, right? So let's kind of dive a little bit more into both of these. Let's go into the next slide and talk about getcalfresh.org. This picture right here is what you can see when you go on that home page. I like to think it's a convenient online platform to apply for CalFresh benefits. To start the application, just press the big Apply Now button. To start an application in Spanish or in Chinese, you go actually a little bit back. You can see those buttons right there. Currently, Get CalFresh is only available in these 3 languages. Now, when you do press those big Apply Now buttons, let's go on the next slide. Then you can see, it maps out the entire application process. Claudia was talking about how, you'd have to submit some documents and have that talk with a county eligibility worker. Get CalFresh lets families know, that's a thing to expect with the application process. It's not just submitting this application, right? So once you get past this, then Get CalFresh is going to ask all the questions that's needed to really complete the application. If we can go next. And I like to think that Get CalFresh does a good job of making it all simple and easy to understand language. For anyone who has seen the actual paper CalFresh application, it can be a little bit hard to understand. They use kind of difficult language. And I think that Get CalFresh does a good job of making it simple and easy to understand and really walks them through the application itself. Right, so you can see here, is checking for income requirements and letting families know to prepare 30 days worth of pay stubs or any other proof of income. When it comes to the actual question itself, if you go on the next picture, please, you can see that, in case anyone reports that they have a job, it asks, or one potential question is, what's the hourly wage and how many hours a week do you work? CalFresh also recognizes that work hours might not be consistent from week to week, right? Sometimes families can vary in their work hours and might not know how to necessarily report that. It does kind of go that extra mile and say, just give an average for the last 30 days. So CalFresh does kind of help families out in case they have any questions about the information they try to submit. You can also see at the bottom, it has like a completion bar. So it lets families know how far along they are in the application process. Once they are 100% complete, let's go to the next slide, please. CalFresh will do a prediction on the information that the county will want to complete the application. In this, kind of screenshot, this example, it's requesting IDs, pay stubs, housing, and dependent care. This can look different per family based on their household situation and the information that was submitted in their application, right? So it might look a little bit different, and it will be specialized based on the information they put in. Now, as I'm sure you can see, there are going to be some responsibilities that students and families have to really make sure they get approved for and receive CalFresh benefits. In case any families are a little bit busy or want support, they can always contact a CalFresh application assister. Go on the next slide and talk a little bit more about them. Sienna from Feeding San Diego will talk a lot more about what they do and go way more in depth, but I just kind of want to highlight, how you can find many of the CalFresh application assisters all throughout San Diego County. If you can go back a bit, actually, thanks. You can see an interactive Google map that pops up on the San Diego Hunger Coalition website. You can go on the link down there, sdhunger.org/getcalfresh, to find this interactive Google map, and you can see, where our assisters are and see if they are close to your area. All of these organizations have application assisters who are highly trained. They go through a several-hour training to know the ins and outs of CalFresh eligibility and how to provide case management and in-depth support throughout the entire process. Reminding families these are documents they have to submit and to have that conversation with a county worker if required. In case any families also have questions about their application and might not have time to contact the county or necessarily know how, then the application assisters can, do that follow-up with county staff, ask, this application, can we know what the status of it is? Are they approved? Are they denied? And they can communicate all of that with your students and their families. Many of our application assisters, because they know the program so well, they can sometimes identify when certain issues happen with the application just because the CalFresh program is so big and complex. Sometimes issues happen and the application assisters can spot when it happens, check in with the county eligibility worker and say, hey, can we make sure this application gets processed correctly so that this family can receive the benefits that they are entitled to. We also recognize that many families might prefer communication in another language when going through this process. So now if we could go next. When you click on one of the pins in that map, you can see, we put down the languages that these organizations can accommodate. It is going to be at the bottom there. And you can see just how many languages this specific organization can accommodate. I also want to take this time to, recognize that you can see when you click on the pin, the names of the organization, their addresses, phone numbers, and their hours of operation. So families know when they could call in and request this sort of assistance. And, with all of this support, and these reminders these assisters can give and the communication they can provide, all of this does result in a higher likelihood of approval for your students and their families. And I think that is it on my end, but Sienna will talk. Oh, sorry, that is not it. On our website as well is videos in English and Spanish talking about how to really connect with application assisters and how to apply for the CalFresh program. It walks families through how to really use the map and contact folks for this assistance. Now I think I'm done.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Sienna Rohr and I'm the CalFresh manager at Feeding San Diego. And we've heard a lot today about the importance of CalFresh and how we can apply. And I'm here just to build on what Devin was saying. as to how community-based organizations can be there to support you and your schools and your families in helping families apply for CalFresh. Next slide, please. So as Devin mentioned, there's many community-based organizations around the county. You can see them on that map. And we all have trained CalFresh specialists who are trained to help with applications, case issues, and renewals. Next slide, please. So Devin walked us through the Get CalFresh application. So anyone can apply for CalFresh anytime on their own. So what is the benefit of applying with a community-based organization such as Feeding San Diego? Next slide, please. So California, I always like to show this map. California has one of the lowest CalFresh participation rates in the country. In other parts of the country, it's known as SNAP. And you can see the national average of people who are eligible who enroll in CalFresh is about 82%. And California, we sit down at about 70%, which is the lowest bracket in the country. Next slide, please. So knowing that and looking at that map, we know that there must be a significant number of barriers that people face to applying for CalFresh in California, including in San Diego. And these are some of the main barriers that our team comes across in our work every day when we interact with community members, asking them if they'd like to apply for CalFresh. Huge thing is just lack of awareness. A lot of people don't know that they're eligible for CalFresh. A lot of people still experience a sense of stigma around asking for food stamps. If any of you have seen a paper version of the application or even some of the old county websites, there can be a lot of confusion around eligibility in the program and just an intimidating and confusing application overall. A lot of people still experience fear of being considered a public charge, even though CalFresh is no longer considered a public charge. Many people experience technology or language barriers, and then difficulties getting in touch with the county, submitting documents, or knowing exactly what they need to submit and how. Next slide, please. So we are here to help address those barriers. This is a picture of our team at one of our outreach sites. And how we can help families directly is provide really personalized, private one-on-one support for applications, renewals, existing case issues. We can screen people to see if they're eligible for CalFresh. Our team specifically at Feeding San Diego can assist in English and Spanish, but there's organizations around the county that can assist in other languages as well, as Devin mentioned. Next slide, please. And how can we support schools, support you all so to take the burden off of your plates with assisting people with CalFresh? So our team and many of the other community organizations around the county provide free referrals over the phone, text, and email. So you can refer a family to us anytime. They can call or text, and we can help them with the application from start to finish over the phone. We can also send you printed free flyers in multiple languages that have our information on it. We can host outreach events or application workshops in person or virtual. And we can also provide training for your staff at schools or training for parents or volunteers. Next slide. This is an example of our flyer at Feeding San Diego that we can send, that we can print and provide for your schools. Next slide, please. And if you would specifically like to refer anyone to our team at Feeding San Diego, that is our CalFresh line. One of these lovely ladies will answer. That's our email, and our webpage takes you to a button that anyone can click to fill out their contact information, and we'll follow up with them in a couple of days. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you so much, Sienna. I think from here, we're going to move into the next section of our presentation, and I'm going to briefly share a couple of opportunities for us to better understand where we can be connecting individuals to CalFresh. And so, I hope by now we've made a really strong case for the opportunity to connect students to CalFresh benefits and also the significant need that's out there. So by now you may have the question floating around in your head, what information is available to school districts to better understand the degree to which we can engage families in accessing CalFresh in your district? So there's really two pieces of information that we're able to share. First, we're going to dig into the CalFresh utilization rate by zip code. And then if your district is at all interested in better understanding at a zip code level the specific number of families that are currently not enrolled in Medi-Cal or CalFresh, please reach out to us and we'd be happy to work with you to develop customized estimates. So next slide, please. The Hunger Coalition developed a mathematical model that allows us to project current estimates of the number of individuals that have income levels that make them eligible for CalFresh by zip code level. And so that gives us the number of eligible individuals. From there, we worked with our County of San Diego Health and Human Service Agency to access the number of individuals that are currently enrolled in each zip code. So that gives us our number of enrolled. So when we divide the number of eligible by the number enrolled, this gives us a CalFresh utilization rate for each zip code across San Diego County. So when we look at the map of San Diego County, I just want to note the areas that are lighter colored are the areas that have lower utilization rates. So those really light colored zip codes are those zip codes where there's more opportunity to enroll families or students in CalFresh. And that's not to say that opportunities don't exist across San Diego County, but the zip codes that are a bit lighter mean that there's more opportunity. We go to the next slide. We can just see as we dig in a little bit deeper that there are a number of regions, and that circle in the middle there where it says San Diego University should have been a little bit larger to dip further south. I mean, really there's opportunity across the county. But we just wanted to highlight a couple of areas where it may be worth paying closer attention to and really taking advantage of all the amazing resources that you've heard about this afternoon. So just a couple of notes, Medi-Cal, we heard a little bit earlier from Robin about Medi-Cal only enrollment. That is common in San Diego County. So these maps are not all encompassing, but it provides us with a great place to start. You've heard from multiple presenters today too, that many families may not have yet enrolled in either program, and that's particularly that particularly impacts families who are concerned about public charge. And so we're really excited to be supporting you with some messaging around public charge to get that word out there to families that it is a safe program. CalFresh is a safe program to use. And then ultimately, the assisters that you heard from today do an amazing job at helping people apply for CalFresh, and many assisters can dually enroll families. So there are a variety of application assisters out there that can help families enroll in both CalFresh and Medi-Cal. So it's really, really a win-win for families and school districts. Thank you. And I think for now we might skip or come back to Q&A, but thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, we're going to move on to strategies to increase CalFresh enrollment with Daisy from No Kid Hungry, California.
Thank you, Amanda. So we're going to talk about different things school districts, charter schools, even private schools can do to increase CalFresh enrollment for children via a school-based strategy. So the very first one is many schools have their new application on their website. And there's actually a bill, SB 708, that requires school districts, charters, private schools who have their meal application online, they must also provide the online link application to CalFresh. So it's really important that, if you have your meal application on your website, there is a requirement that you also link the CalFresh application. In San Diego, there are about 43 school districts, and out of those 43, only 3 actually have the CalFresh link application on their website. A total of 7 have either the link or a flyer or a resource that directs families to the CalFresh website, but I think we can do a lot better. And I recommend LEAs who don't have their meal application online to do so, especially now when you're trying to reduce the number of in-person visits to your office. Put the application online in different languages and make it more accessible to our San Diego families. Next slide. So I wanted to give you a few examples of districts that already have the CalFresh link on their website. So here you see Cajon Valley High School District. On their nutrition website, they have a nice blog of what the CalFresh program is, which is really important so families know. And they have the link to calfresh.gov. And this is a really great example. It's a really easy thing to do. So, you know, you can have the link either on your nutrition website or your school district website, but it's really important. Sorry, those are my dogs. And here's another example of Poway Unified School District. They have the link to CalFresh on the nutrition website for parent resources. So I really recommend our nutrition directors on this call connect with your IT manager or director to see how simple it is to put the icon of CalFresh, a small blurb of what CalFresh is, and the link. It definitely is a great strategy to increase CalFresh enrollment for children. Next slide. Another great strategy is to work with your county office, your Department of Social Services. There is Assembly Bill 402, which allows school districts to enter into an MOU with the county website to make sure that you can use the meal application and add a section to the meal application where families can check off that based on income eligibility, they can get more information for CalFresh. A lot of districts work already with the county office for direct certification for CEP. This is something different. This is adding to your meal application a section where parents consent off that this information can be passed off to the county office and they can be contacted if they qualify for CalFresh. So we're going to put a link in the chat that has an official letter from the state that kind of gives examples of what the consent forms can look like. And here you see this is a regular meal application, and in the very bottom, there's a section on parents consenting that they can be reached if they qualify for CalFresh. Here's another example of a parent consent form that school districts can use. And I recommend, even if you don't have the meal application, if you're using the alternative income form and have that on your school website, add these consent forms, enter an MOU with your county office. I don't think there's one district in San Diego currently doing this. So be that one person who really paves the way and this incredible strategy to reach kids in San Diego County. Next slide. Another step that we're taking is we created with San Diego Hunger Coalition a toolkit that's really focused on different strategies you can use to increase CalFresh from a school's perspective. We'll put the link in the website. The toolkit's available on the Milk and Hungry California website, and will also be available in the San Diego Hunger Coalition website as well. So here's our toolkit. Our toolkit has really great, it has information on how to upload the CalFresh icon to your website step by step. It has the bill that requires you to do so if you have your online application already available. It also lists all those great San Diego CalFresh assisters that are here to help your school district to increase CalFresh enrollment. And in about 2 weeks, there's a link on the toolkit that will have many social media graphics in multiple languages that you can easily use on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, any social media platform that your parents use quite frequently, addressing CalFresh, getting them, bringing awareness to CalFresh. So look out for those social graphics coming really soon to you. Next slide. We also have, examples of posts for your website in English and Spanish. We have a script you can use. Sorry, that's my dog again. Gucci, stop. We have a robo script you can use to call your parents also in English and Spanish. You can do this from the nutrition office. If you're a principal, you can also use the script as well, or a teacher, with all information for you that parents need to know in order to have access or find the CalFresh application. Next slide. So I really want to just, really talk about partnerships. We have so many great presenters today, from Feeding America to the county office to, CBOs, talking about how we're coming together as a unit to help, to create impact and help our kids out. I always say hungry kids can't learn. So I really recommend to you to create partnerships within the school district, with nonprofits, and with offices at the county level. Next slide. And we have a really great announcement. If you are a school district, charter school, private school on this call today, we are launching the CalFresh Outreach Challenge here for San Diego. So if you don't have the CalFresh link on your school website, if you add it to your nutrition website or your school district website or your school site website, you will be entered into a raffle. And we'll be selecting 3 winners for San Diego. And those 3 lucky winners will get a grant, a donation of $500. These $500 can go to having a breakfast for your staff, a lunch, getting t-shirts, maybe you need a new coffee maker for the lobby. There's so many possibilities, and this can really help with staff morale and capacity, as we know that their staffs are tired, and this is a great way for your staff to feel appreciated, to feel valued. So go ahead, add the link, use the toolkit, and you have until March 14th to enter into this CalFresh challenge, and we will announce the winners by then. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy, and thank you everyone who stayed on to the very few that are learning. Well, no, there's still a lot of you. You're learning about that awesome challenge. So join the CalFresh challenge. And so here is our closing call to action for all of you. It's going to take a team. So step number 1, gather your team, gather your people that are from different organizations within your district, get those nonprofits and CBOs together, and let's make a collective goal here. And then number 2, CalFresh application link to your website so you can be entered into the contest for $500. It's fun. And really dive into what does your school data look like? What is your ISP? And collaborate with your partners to create a goal ISP and take advantage of all the resources that you learned of today. You have people all over this county that want to help your students enroll in CalFresh, and then start enrolling families and make a really big difference for students, for your nutrition programs, and for your schools. We have been answering questions live in the Q&A. The last outstanding question is a great one to close on. We will be putting the toolkit link in the chat, absolutely. And we will send out this presentation to everybody that registered with connections to the resources and ways to stay connected to all of our organizations. Is 2:29, and we are going to close on time. Oh, actually, you know what? There's a good question from Kathy in there. Should schools and districts let San Diego Hunger Coalition know if and when they add the CalFresh button to their website? Absolutely, that would be fantastic. Good question. You can let us know. Our emails are right here. And we just want to thank you again for your hour and a half here and for your dedication to serving and feeding children all over San Diego County. Thank you especially to No Kid Hungry for your partnership and collaboration, and to each and every one of our presenters. We're grateful for all of you. Have a fabulous day.